Alright, so today, guys, we are looking at the art element of space. If you're looking to improve your artwork, this is probably one of the best places for you to focus on. So let's go ahead and get started. You guys should have this paper, and you're going to follow along with me as we fill it in. So at the top it says, space is used to create the illusion of depth. D-E-P-T-H, depth. In other words, showing the distance between and around things. This can be done in several ways, and I want you to add the images as we go through some of these different ways. So let's first look at overlap. Shapes in the background are overlapped by shapes in the foreground. So we're going to just use some basic shapes. I'm going to use triangles mostly. So this triangle is in the foreground or close to the front. And I'm going to draw one overlapping in the back. And now it looks like they're behind, one is behind the other. Okay, that's one way to show depth. Okay, let's look at shading. So you can just add shades and shadows to your objects to make them look more 3D. When you have a shadow, it's really dark down here at the bottom where the shadow meets the ground. And then your shadow is usually dark close to the object. It gets lighter as it moves away and less rigid. You can't really start to see the edges as it gets further away from the object. It gets lighter and more faint. Okay, the next one is how you place your objects. Objects that are farther away get closer to the horizon line. And horizon line is an imaginary line where the sky and the land meet. So I'm going to start by drawing my horizon line back here in the back. So I've got this one triangle. This is close to the front in the foreground. And this next triangle is going to be closer to the horizon line. And even though these are almost the same size, because it's closer to the horizon line, it gives another illusion of depth. Now we're going to go to the next row where it says size. So objects that are closer are larger, and objects in the distance are smaller, or they appear smaller when you're drawing. The next one is value and focus. So objects that are closer are more focused and darker in color because you can see them better. So the ones up close, they're darker, more focused, and the ones in the distance may be more blurred and lighter. And again, it just gives the illusion of some depth. Okay, the next one is perspective, and there's a theory called one-point perspective, which is saying you have a point on your drawing and all the other lines kind of run into that in the distance. So if this is a road, this gives the illusion of depth. The road is closer here, further here, going to this one point in the distance. So the last three that we're going to look at, this first one is to draw big. Fill in the space with one large object. So I'm going to draw a little ice cream cup. So here's my cup, and I'm drawing it as large as I can. I'm making my ice cream scoops. Kind of look like popcorn. I'm just drawing really quickly. And then I'm just going to keep going because I want to fill in this whole space with what I'm drawing. So doing this creates a sense of depth because you've got all this space filled in. And then you can go back and add some shading as we talked about on the other sections. That just adds a little bit more to it. So this is another way to create depth. The other one, fill the whole paper. So when I say that, I mean create an environment for your object. You're not just leaving them floating in the air. So I'm going to draw my horizon line. Got a little road here. Then in the distance, got some mountains. So I'm just filling everything in. Mountains, they're overlapping one another. There's a sun shining down. I'm overlapping the mountains to show some up front, some in the back. I could draw some little clouds up here. Some of them might even overlap the mountains a little bit. Got a mailbox up here. Just sketching really quick. Here's my trees overlapping the mountains. So I'm also drawing lightly so that as I add pieces, it's easy to go back and erase where things overlap. Maybe there's a couple of bushes right beside the road in front of the trees. So I just want to keep adding and fill up my space. Maybe I've got a fence over here. So this is kind of, I've talked to you guys about this, about adding an environment to your drawings. And the last one that we're going to look at is drawing off of the page. So you're filling it up, but even further. So I'm going to do like another ice cream cone again. So that, but this time I'm making my ice cream scoop really large so that it fills up my page. So here's my ice cream cone. And this again creates the illusion of depth. And then I could go back and add some shading. Just adding a little bit. Helps it appear more realistic, more 3D, more depth or space, which is what we're talking about. So I want you to pick one or more of these to practice maybe on the back of the paper or on a scratch piece of paper before you start working on your project. And again, I don't want you to copy these things. I want you to come up with your own idea. And the question always is, do I add color? Yes, go ahead and add color. It's going to add just a little more to your project. And so as far as your project, when you're working on it, this is the space section. So down here underneath your T is where you're going to work on your space section. Good luck.